On a climbing trip to Scotland one winter, I was in Edinburgh and I was going by a store and I saw these rugby shirts hanging up. And, you know, nobody in America knew what rugby was in those days. This is 1967 or something. And so I bought one of these shirts. I thought it'd make a really great climbing shirt. It had a collar so that the gear slings wouldn't cut in your neck. It had rubber buttons and it was sewn really tough. I thought, wow, this would make a great climbing shirt. So I bought one for myself and was wearing it, climbing, and everybody was coming up and saying, wow, where'd you get that? That's pretty cool. It was real colorful, you know, it was blue with red and yellow stripes. And in those days, men didn't wear colorful clothes. No, this is before, you know, the whole sportswear thing. You know, active sportswear was gray sweatshirts and sweatpants. That was it. And all of a sudden, you know, here comes this rugby shirt. And so anyway, the lights came on in my head, and so I imported a few, and they sold like crazy. And so that's what got us in the clothing business. And from there, I designed a pair of shorts for climbing. And I made the patterns myself, and I had this Korean woman who was the wife of a Korean friend of mine who worked in the machine shop. And we made them out of number 10 canvas duck, which is what you use for lawn chairs. And she had to sew these things up on a walking foot machine, the kind of sewing machine they use for sewing through heavy leather. And after she sewed them, she put them on the table, and they stood straight up. And and she was laughing, and we still make that short. It's called a stand-up short. We've softened the cloth a lot, though. Anyway, the climbing business kind of took off because we were making something unique. We applied all the laws or the methods of industrial design to making clothing, which nobody had ever done. You know, a clothing designer takes some cloth and wraps it around a mannequin and pins it here and there and creates something out of virtually nothing. And we approached each clothing problem as if it was a technical problem. So in other words, okay, we're going to work on a pair of socks. What do these socks have to do? And approached it that way. And then often the fabric is the last thing we choose. So we were making really durable, tough stuff. And in fact, we made a pack one time, and Backpacker magazine reviewed it, and they lambasted it and said, you know, what do a bunch of blacksmiths know about sewing anyway? That was their exact words. Well, we didn't know much about sewing, but we just knew about durability and absolute security, because, you know, when you go from making mountain climbing equipment, if it fails, it would kill you, because you're your own customer, to making clothing, and we wanted to make the best clothing we possibly could. So we made a fleece jacket, a pile jacket, and in fact, it worked great. People could fall into a river in the winter, take it off, shake it out, all the water would come off, and put it back on, and it would save their lives. So the first ones were pretty ugly. But eventually we came up with a product called Chinchilla, which is now the polar fleece. And all of a sudden that became a fashion item around America. And we were selling it to all kinds of people who really didn't need it, but, you know, they wanted to wear that thing in their Jeep Cherokee that they drove from their New York apartment to their Connecticut home. And any day now, they're going to lose 40 pounds and go climb Mount Rainier.